33, 34, 35, all the way up to 1936. Still had the Olympics in Berlin. All of the nations participated. No one outwardly protested. I'm sure Hitler wasn't that happy about Jesse Owens and his record. But this is what we have. The nonviolent nature of people also makes them slower to act and slower to really take action. People are a little bit more proactive. Maybe someone could have held a stronger resistance, maybe a little less talking, maybe a little less writing, maybe pick up arms and really say, okay, we need to run this guy out of here before you get to 6 million people here.
On that point, a lot has been said and written, chronicled. We all know that there were a lot of people behind the scenes who knew what was going on, and it wasn't very pacifist of them to do nothing, but they certainly resisted for all kinds of reasons and all kinds of pressure, power being one of them, and sovereign nations being another. I have to take up the point that you made and against it about, I did read the passage in the book, I read the whole book actually, it was really good, where the author is talking about all men, or in the one section where all men have the thirst for blood, and I disagree, and that it's basically an opinion as far as I'm concerned at that point when he came to that conclusion. I don't believe that. I don't believe that all men, that's the word for men and women, are born with that lust necessarily. I do happen to believe in the hierarchy theory of seeking shelter, you know, being safe, caring for one's own, caring for what's going to keep us alive, but I do not believe that wars are brought on out of a bloodthirst, power hungry. No. Has there been that in history? Yes, of course. But most often I think it's contested resources. I think we see that the resources can be big, they can be small, but that's where the struggle begins. We don't, majority of us don't make it past the second rung or the third rung. In the world, there are a lot of statistics to back that up. How many children are, you know, of the the children in the world, not 1.9 billion children from the developing world. There's 640 million without adequate shelter. So that's 1 in 3 children in the world. 400 million without access to safe water, and 270 million without access to health care. And that means not health care like we have health care. Health care, you're going to die tomorrow without a shot. That's no immunization, nothing. Are these reasons to go to war? It's basically, are there justifications for war? Is there such thing as a just war? I would have to argue that there are. When it is innocence, when it is attacks, unprovoked attacks on, I don't necessarily buy the sovereign nation part, but the attacks on innocent, yes. Is there a place in this world for a military? Absolutely. An armed military? Absolutely. I was going to print off the poster of all of the nuclear weapons in the world. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. They were signified by dots. I'm sure you've seen the chart. It was amazing. And 3 little ones were circled over here, and there was a little circle up here where we were in the very beginning and where we were 10 years ago, and now there's so many nuclear weapons. That's not the kind of war I'm talking about, not the total annihilation, because that's what we have. I just want to read this one thing, and it's about the perpetrators of the September 11th act cannot be reliably neutralized by nonviolent or diplomatic means. A response that includes military action is essential to diminish the threat of repetition, to inflict punishment, and to restore a sense of security at home and abroad. The extreme political vision held by Osama bin Laden, which can usefully be labeled apocalyptic terrorism, places this persisting threat well outside any framework of potential reconciliation or even negotiation for several reasons. Its genocidal intent is directed generically against Americans and Jews. Its proclaimed goal is waging unconditional civilizational war, Islam against the West, without drawing any distinction between civilian or military targets. That's what I'm talking about when I'm saying innocence. And it has demonstrated a capacity and willingness to inflict massive and traumatizing damage on our country, and a tactical ingenuity and ability to carry out its missions of destruction by reliance on the suicidal devotion of its adherents. There are 3 types of responses to this act, each of which contains some merit and enjoys some support, and none of them are adequate, one of them being anti-war pacifist approach. And I agree.
Obviously, as you know, this author happens to, dispute that he believes that there are very few opportunities where conflict should ever reign supreme. We agree on that, correct? He even goes to an extent of taking, and if you were to make a laundry list of all the groups that he has in here to give instruction on who, could use this valuable information, who have done things in the past, there are very few groups out there that you can think of in the society that he doesn't cover on, from the religious all the way to the secular and all points in between. Now, whether or not he is thinking solely on the information that he got and thinks that in every situation this stuff can apply, I think that it speaks also very well when you put both of these books in tandem. When this guy takes and diagnoses what war and what hatred is all about, it puts this in a completely different light. I think both of them together are, as I said earlier, a way of proceeding from this day forward. I don't think address adequately attacks by terrorists who are not obviously uniformed combatants in a traditional sense of war, but certainly 99% of the lessons learned from both of these books in tandem, because one certainly benefits the other and vice versa, I think can't be discounted at all. And because we're human beings, there will always be those situations, those extremes, the Holocaust, those situations where we don't know how to handle, and it's basically seat of the pants type of knowledge. But for the most part, I think both of these books, and especially this one, really give you hope about mankind and how to handle things in adversity that's in your face.
And on that point, if I can say very quick, 2 things actually. I have hope about mankind without reading that book. I don't, I feel very hopeful. It always have the one thing I don't buy, and I think it's a fallacy that's being sold, and it has been sold to us, is that terrorism is not really a war. It's not really a threat. It's not really, this is like this odd thing. I don't believe it at all. They may as well be a standing army for what's been going on and for the way the world has been held by the jugular ever since 9/11 and every time we turn around. It's effective, it works, and it works so well that they don't even have to be we don't have to see the terrorists, just say the word. So it's very, very effective, and I don't think it's a haphazard or just so happened and we're going to have to fly by the seat of our pants when it happens to us again. No, I think that we have been, I get it, I think that we need to be not reactive but proactive toward it, because just like this author said, and I happen to agree with them, they have an agenda.
Well, just to kind of piggyback on what Sally said about terrorists, I would think that some of these groups, before they've gotten to the point, there has to be something that created a terrorist. And I would say that would be hopelessness. That would be that feeling of no one's coming to your rescue, no one's going to help, and this is our last resort. How else are we going to be heard? Now, they use the same fundamental concept that Gandhi used with the, I don't want to say it wrong, Satyagraha. And it's really based on reaching this point where you don't fear death.